Want to do a brief video on some of the accessory structures of the integumentary system. This is all the extra stuff. Sometimes they're called appendages. I'm not going to go into detail on any of them except for the glands, and I actually have a separate video on glands, although I will introduce them here. So some of the accessory structures are things like hair, receptors, touch receptors, and the glands. Nails are also a part of the integumentary system that I will not be talking about. So here is a hair. There's a lot of anatomy of the hair that I'm not going to go over all the detail. I'm not going to test you on this stuff. However, some of these terms are things that you'll use in the future. So the outside of the hair is the cortex. The inside is the medulla. And then we've got these muscles that actually help to, what do you think a hair does? It can stand on end. So when you get goosebumps, your hairs will stand on end. And that is designed to allow you to sense better. So there are nerves associated with the hair, this hair receptors here. You can feel when something is crawling on your skin, even if you have a lot of hair there. So that's some of these receptors. There's also this sebaceous gland. That is an oil gland. So the oil that is associated with the hair. I'm actually going to wait on the rest of the glands for this next slide. So here are the cutaneous glands, which means glands associated with the skin. I'll have another video on glands in general after this. So the first one here is the eccrine gland, or eccrine. These are the sweat glands that you think of as sweat. They function in evaporative cooling. So it's a low salt, watery sweat that is produced. What would you call that compared to your blood? If it's low salt compared to your blood, it is hypotonic. So these are all over your skin, very widely distributed, open ducts. These are your sweat pores on the skin surface. Then we've got our apocrine glands. These are kind of scent glands. They're a little smellier. They're in the pubic region, axillary region, and male facial hair. And they're also open ducts, but they open onto hair follicles. So they're more present in places where there's hair. And the function of them in humans is not quite understood. It's thought that maybe it is related to some sort of scent, maybe all the ancient pheromone-related function. Then lastly, we've got sebaceous glands. These are the ones I mentioned on the previous slide. These are oil glands that are associated with hair follicles. So they lubricate the hairs and also what make your hair get oily when you don't wash it for a while. Hair also contains melanin. So I talked about skin color in a previous video. Same idea for hair color. That's what gives us all these different hair colors that exist. There's these different names for different types of melanin you don't need to know. Eumelanin refers to true melanin. That's what it means. Phenomelanin is another kind. They're different shades of pigment that are related to different shades of hair color. There's also different biology, different bonding that allows for curly hair. Last thing for these accessory structures are touch receptors. So I want to make sure to mention this. There are a lot of sensory receptors in the skin. These are 5 types mentioned here. I will go into these in a little more detail when we get to the sensory system in terms of what types of touch they each respond to. I do think it's worth knowing now that they each do respond to different types of touch. And this is a structure function example. So if you've got this shape of a receptor, it's going to respond to a different stimulus than a free nerve ending or this shape. These are designed, or this shape down here, which is very long and responds to stretch. So light touch, pressure, temperature, stretch, and they all have modified structures that respond to different stimuli. In all cases, the stimuli are going to result in an action potential that's sent to the central nervous system. We'll come back to that after we talk about central nervous system. But it's important, I think, just to note here, these are, all within different levels of the skin from the epidermis down to the dermis and allow us to sense things in our environment.